Good afternoon, I'm Vashon Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. I remind us well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot Media. Councillor for the Sydenham Division in South Central St. Catherine, Hawthorne Thompson, is recovering in hospital after he was attacked outside his business place on Brunswick Avenue in Spanish Town early this morning. Mr. Thompson, who is a licensed firearm holder, was able to return fire, injuring both attackers. They have also been hospitalized. Member of Parliament for South Central St. Catherine, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, spoke with our news team.
Based on the information that we have, Councillor Thompson was in the process of closing up his business place around 1 when he was approached by 2 assailants. They pulled 2 guns, each pulled a gun and at the councillor, and he was able to return fire. The two assailants were shot. He himself received a shot at his side.
Meanwhile, Dr. Wheatley told the TVJ News that Councillor Thompson is now speaking and on the road to recovery. Dr. Wheatley says no organs were damaged during the attack. One of the attackers is in critical condition. And crime figures obtained by our news center show that August is the bloodiest month so far this year. 168 persons were murdered, the highest recorded for a month since the May 2010 West Kingston operation. 1,037 murders were recorded between January 1 and August 31. This is up from 824 during the same period last year. 200 murders were committed in St. James, followed by Clarendon with 107. An 11-year-old boy was fatally shot last night in Trenchtown, St. Andrew. He's been identified as Michael Keating of 5th Street. About 9:35, the child was at home when a man was observed entering the yard. Shortly after, explosions were heard. The child was later found with a bullet wound to the head. No motive has been established for the killing. The Minister of Education has provided details on arrangements for the reopening of schools in areas surrounding Mount Salem. At a media briefing yesterday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness reported that students will be allowed free movement today for the resumption of classes. However, he said high school students must have their identification cards to present at checkpoints. Education Minister Senator Royal Reid told the TVJ News that he has instructed the ministry's regional director to closely monitor students in and around Mount Salem traveling to school and provide a report. And still on the zones of special operations, the government will be forking out big bucks in a bid to rid several communities of guns and ammunitions. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure yesterday in Mount Salem. The cash incentive program will begin today.
The government of Jamaica will be setting up 2 funds to incentivize information sharing. The first fund is a $100 million fund as a reward program for information from the public leading to the discovery of weapons, ammunition, or explosives.
Crime Stop will administer the program. Mr. Holness said the citizens have nothing to fear by coming forward with the information. He gave a breakdown of the reward.
The reward depends obviously on the type of weapon that is recovered. So, for rifles and submachine guns, the reward is $150,000. For semi-automatic pistols and shotguns, the reward is $100,000. For revolvers, $75,000. And for explosives and ammunition, the person giving the information, depending on the quantity of what is recovered, the reward is negotiated.
Another fund has been established. This is a $20 million fund for information leading to the arrest of men on the country's most wanted list. 3 of the 16 persons named as persons of interest in the outbreak of violence in sections of Clarendon have turned themselves in. TVJ News has been informed that they reported to the police on the weekend. The Clarendon police had urged the individuals to turn themselves in as their families were being targeted in the deadly gang feud. More than a dozen persons, including children, have been killed in Clarendon in recent weeks. And still in Clarendon, the Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC this morning rolled out its pilot rural bus service. The service routes are Maypen to Old Harbour, Maypen to Lioneltown, and Maypen to Tollgate. Minister of Transport Mike Henry says the service will ensure less exposure of children to lewd music as well as inappropriate behavior on public passenger vehicles. All routes will terminate at the Denby Showground terminal until the designated facility is completed. Now, there will be 2 buses per route. Mr. Henry says the project will be carefully monitored during the 6-month implementation phase. It will be evaluated in December as well as March next year. There has been an increase in cases of conjunctivitis, also known as pink eye, in sections of the island. In an update to our news centre, the Health Minister reported an uptick in Kingston and St. Andrew, as well as St. Mary and Trelawney. And with today's start of the new academic year, the Health Ministry has implemented measures to prevent a flare-up of pink eye among students. Director of Emergency Disaster Management and Special Services in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Jacqueline Bissessa Mackenzie, is urging parents not to send their children to school if they have symptoms.
And we're asking the teachers to be particularly vigilant to see that the kids who are coming in, that they ask the parents to take them home. They have to do their usual precautionary measures in that they are to avoid close contact with persons with pink eye. The washing of hands is very important, and the touching of eyes. To avoid touching the eyes or use sharing eye drops.
Residents of Cooper's Hill in Portland have raised concern about the state of the road in their community. One resident says the road has been in a poor condition for the past 18 years. The residents say the destruction of a bridge in the community last year has made a difficult situation worse and has even forced them to pay higher taxi fares.
From Port Antonio via Fellowship up to Cooper's Hill, coming through the bridge, it would be $200. But because we are unable to use this road and we have to travel all the way from Port Antonio to Hope Bay, Fruitfulville, we have to pay $500. So that's an extra $300 that we have to pay. Plus, the taxi operator complains that it takes more gas and it's more wear and tear on the vehicle, and so we are having a grave challenge.
Councillor for the St. Margaret's Bay Division, Stephen Williams, says design work is being done for the bridge. He, however, says a lack of financing makes it difficult to tell when the bridge will be repaired.
Well, first of all, that section of roadway was damaged before the beginning of my tenure. However, I have made the necessary representation at the Municipal Corporation and also to the National Works Agency and via the Member of Parliament also.
We go back now to the zones of special operations. As the zone of special operations enters its 4th day in Mount Salem, St. James, some residents are voicing their dissatisfaction with aspects of the operations. TVJ's Herman Green is in Montego Bay, St. James, or sections of Mount Salem in St. James, and filed this report.
When you go on national TV and tell persons that 54 persons were murdered in Mount Salem, and people in Mount Salem were trying to count and figure out where these 54 persons came from.
That's just the start of the issues residents of Mount Salem are having with their community being declared a zone of special operations. They believe to begin with the area had been wrongly labeled. Division Councillor Carrie Thomas insisting that the statistics given include several other more volatile communities and not just Mount Salem community.
So that is why you would have heard on the ground the feedback from the residents that no, our community, yes, we have issues. We are not going to say that we don't have violence taking place in here. But for this year, we have been peculiarly very quiet because of the efforts we have been working with in trying to build back a sort of unity.
Other than that, there are concerns that the zone is not being searched fairly, as some say entrances on the other side, the Westgate community, is not scrutinized as much as along the Mount Salem main road. They say insisting on an ID is also unfair. With all that in mind, some say the timing is also wrong.
I don't really pleased about this. It don't planned correctly, properly. All I think is this is back to school, and for this to go on and children them to go to school, how it gonna work? How it gonna happen right in the back to school?
There are mixed feelings about the zone operation since Friday, however, with most persons admitting that they do feel more secure. They say since Friday, they have not heard the usual nightly gunfire in some areas.
I also think that it should be safer than it was before, based on the fact that the presence of the securities, and people will show a little bit more reception to the law based on the fact that they are in here. So it should be safer.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
And we go now to sports. Petrojam remains on course to defend their CASAFA Western Sports Division 1 crown, while ATL and Peak Bottling to face off for the D2 title. Petrojam are through to their 10th straight Division 1 final after getting the better of 2014 champions Metrodade Security 3-1 in their semi-final at the Alpha Boys School. Their goals came from Fabian Reed, Rene Lloyd and Atafroy Bygrade, while Jeremy Nelson got the consolation for Metrodade.
Good coaching, Mr. Fitzgerald. So we expected a tough game. I thought my team played disciplined today. We kept the ball, you know. We were more composed on the ball. We were patient, and that's why we scored 3 goals today.
In the semi-final at Winchester Park, a double strike from Donovan Alvaranga carried Scotia to a 4-1 victory over the RJR Gleaner team. Alvaranga's double, along with a strike from Nicholas Scott, gave Scotia a 3-0 lead after 55 minutes before Lockley Thompson reduced the margin in the 62nd minute. However, substitute Donovan Garrison restored the 3-goal margin in the 83rd minute.
I mean, end of the game, we get a little bit carried away, but it do happen. But nothing much to concern about. We get 4 goals in a game today, so that's good.
It was a very hard game. It's a semi-final, and as you can see, it was the chances that we didn't put away. We never outplayed, but goals win match, and if you don't put away a chance, next time you're going to capitalize on it.
Meanwhile, in the Division 2 League, ATL reached their first final after reaching the semis for 3 years by clipping HGS 1-0. The goal came from substitute Keyshawn Williams in the 93rd minute at the Alpha Boys School. ATL will face Peak Bottling in the final after the Water Bottlers, with goals from Troylan Williams and Jermaine Fletcher, outscored National Commercial Bank 2-1 at Winchester Park. The final for both leagues will be played on Saturday at Winchester Park. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, have a good afternoon.